Hello, boys and girls, this is Taylor, and I am going to do a high school stories video because these are always pretty highly rated and you guys tend to enjoy them. And this is one that I've been kind of keeping in my back pocket for a while because it is just so ridiculously messed up. And it's one of those things that as it was happening, I didn't think too much of it. I always thought it was kind of weird, but I didn't really put too much, thought into what this PE teacher was doing. And so it's one of those things where you kind of look back on it later in life, and when you tell this story to other people, they're like, "Oh my God, that is so messed up. I can't believe nobody said anything." And I'm kind of like, "Yeah, I guess that is messed up," but because everybody was kind of used to it, nothing really ever came of it. So essentially, it starts. I'll start with my senior year because this is when it was really prevalent. This is when I took PE 2 semesters in a row. So that was when I spent the most time in PE. I decided to save my PE class for senior year because obviously senior year you don't want to be doing any work and you want it to be as easy as possible. So I saved him up so I could do it then. But this guy, this PE teacher, had been working there since I had been in 7th grade. And so it had been about, 6 years since he had been there, and I believe he had been there a few years before I even came to the school. So this was no new occurrence. So essentially, the way my PE class worked, and apparently this is strange for some people in high school, but we would shower after PE every day. That was just something that everyone did. If you didn't shower, you were sweaty and disgusting and sticky and bad and had BO, and nobody would want that. You don't want to be sitting next to a guy, or rather sitting next to a girl in the middle of class and realize that you smell like a burnt rabbit's asshole that's been dipped in Brock Lesnar sweat after a UFC fight. You don't want to feel like that because that makes you feel really self-conscious, and you won't get the ladies like that, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, we were playing handball or some form of PE sport, one of those just goof around things. And unlike most schools, apparently people in my PE classes would actually try and have fun, and we'd get sweaty and we'd play and have a good time. And after every single game, we would go back down into the locker rooms, and then we would take off all our PE clothes, grab our towel and our shampoo or whatever. Or because I was a senior, I pretty much had the freshmen buy me shampoo. There was a really nice coconut shampoo that one of the freshmen provided that I still use now sometimes because it was so good and I found out about it. That was a weird little tangent. So then you go and you get in the showers, and the way our showers were organized is the only way you can describe it is it was like a prison shower. This wasn't the kind of shower where you walked in and there were different stalls where you could go in or close a door, or where there were partitions in there between the shower heads. No, nothing like that. It was just essentially 10 shower heads in a room, all pointed just kind of in the middle, and that's how it worked. And you just would go in there and stand in one of the areas on the dirty, gross tile, and then shower as long as you wanted, or at least I would shower as long as I wanted because I had a study hall right after the PE, so I could just shower right on through and have a nice time because it was a big school, and obviously they're not going to run out of hot water, so I would just live it up in there. So everyone would go in there. There were 30 people in my PE class, and so you'd have to go in shifts, and obviously the upperclassmen got to go in first, and the freshmen and sophomores had to stand out there shivering in their towels, all self-conscious and whatnot, which you can empathize because obviously when you were a freshman and sophomore, you were in the same shoes because even though they're only a few years older than you, you do look up to the seniors and juniors a lot more. So I was showering, and by no means do not think that this is a one-time occurrence. This happened every single time after we would shower. So I would shower, dry off, get out, grab my towel, and I'd be drying off there. And obviously, if you've ever dried off yourself, which I'm thinking most of you have taken showers and dried yourself off, obviously you're not covering your balls and your wiener the whole time. You're drying your head, you're drying your shoulders, drying your arms, your legs, and your calves. You guys know the body parts pretty well. I don't need to take you through that, hopefully. And as you would dry off, you were in this little corridor where it was the entrance into the shower, and then you would walk down a little hallway, and it would take you back to where the lockers were, where you could get your clothes and get dressed and then head on up to your next class. And every single day, without fail, our PE teacher would stand in that corridor and lean up against the wall and just stare at all of the boys getting out of the shower, drying off. There was no reason for him to do it. There was no excuse for him to be standing there staring at your dick. And there were times, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like he was just staring at us, making eye contact. You would catch him looking at your junk. It was an understood thing. And for some reason, everyone in my class, in my school, nobody really made a big deal out of it. Nobody really brought it up. But it was one of those things that if you ever mentioned it to your friends, hey, you ever notice how PE coach was staring at our dicks when we were getting out today? And they're like, yeah, that's kind of weird, haha, and nobody really paid any attention. But every single day, he would stand there and watch for about 15 minutes as everybody showered, and then watch all these young guys, most of them under the age of 18, dry off and be naked, and then he would just stand there. And I guess the only way he could rationalize himself standing there is he would say, "Oh, you got 10 minutes left until you got to go to class," or something like that, which is ridiculous. There was no reason for him to stand there and oogle your balls when he could just as easily have said that from around the corner where he wasn't staring at a bunch of naked boys. And there were even a few times where he would walk up to the shower and like turn around the edge of the shower and look in as we were all showering and tell us how much time we had left. And I was like, that even freaked us out then. I'd be like, what the hell is the PE coach doing right now? He's staring at all of our ball sacks and our butt cracks, and it was pretty ridiculous. And it wasn't until I got out of high school and I told this story to some of my friends in my dorm, and I was expecting it to be a funny story, and they all kind of looked at me in horror, like, oh my god, that's messed up. He would just stare at your naked bodies for 10 minutes every day, and I was like, yeah, I guess that is pretty messed up. There was no reason for that dude to be doing that. What the hell is he thinking? But on the bright side, since I got out of my high school, he has been fired. I don't know why. I don't know the reason for that. Maybe it was just he reached the maximum capacity of underage cock viewing, and they had to just let him go on to the next school because maybe there's some kind of law there, like a maximum amount of minutes you can be staring at an underage male's penis. I don't know. That's for the big wigs in Washington to decide. But anyway, that was one of the most messed up things in high school. For me, was just realizing after I got out of high school how messed up it was that this dude every single day without fail would stare at you and watch you dry off and watch you shower and then watch you get dressed. And then because I went to a Christian school, it was hilarious because he was the same dude who would then take you out into the gym and have the audacity to tell you what you were doing wrong and tell you, "Oh, you need to pray more, Taylor." And I'd be like, "No, okay, buddy, whatever." And it was just that same dude. So the hypocrisy is pretty much mind-blowing in that regard. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little story, although I don't know if enjoying it is exactly what I want. But hopefully you get a little tinge of maybe Thanksgiving that you didn't have a coach like this. But maybe you did, Maybe you guys have an even crazier coach, and if you do, please leave a comment about it because I would love nothing more than to read those. So that's all I got to say for now. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want more of these high school stories, please don't hesitate to rate and favorite and do whatever you want to do. Yeah, and I love you, but not in the kind of way that my coach loved me.